All right, we got a fun topic to start out with. We're going to talk about a 9-month cruise. Who the heck goes on a 9-month cruise?
Rich people.
And TikTok is fascinated with it. And we'll also get into AI and newscasters, and can AI do a newscast without the people? And perhaps we'll also get into some of the problems and some of the successes of higher education. But I say, and Rebecca I know says, and Rob says too, let's do a show.
Let's do a show.
It's the StreamLeader Report Live Panel. Creators talking to creators. Raw, real, and unscripted. And sometimes they say the quiet part out loud. Here are your hosts, Claudia Santiago, Rebecca Gunter, Rob Greenlee, and Ross Brand.
How good is Jodie Krangle's voice?
Oh my God. She makes me want to work out and take care of myself and eat healthy.
My God, what an awesome open she did.
No, man. She just makes you want to pull up a cuppa. She does the thing.
Yeah, she is good. All right, Rebecca, I need a fun story. So let's start out with this TikTok fascination with a cruise, and who goes on a 9-month cruise? You said rich people do. Rich
people, yeah, because the minimum price to go on this cruise is $60,000.
$60,000.
It is a 9-month world cruise, Royal Caribbean. Mm-hmm. It is 7 continents, and you get to see the world.
I think that's all of them, right?
Last I checked. But if anybody's making any more continents, I'm sure the real estate market will be interested to learn that for sure. Here's why I love this story, Arby. First of all, the TikTokers be TikToking. I love this story because I just don't see any other time in history heretofore where you could have like almost as many lenses as a fly's eye on a particular circumstance. Now, this is a great example because humans are going to human. What's going to happen on a 9-month cruise? And we're going to take a look at some of this media. But I'm loving it because you can just really get all of these different perspectives in one conversation in your TikTok feed. Cruise talk, I think maybe is the hashtag for this one. So people who worked on cruises, people who are working on the current cruise, people who are on the cruise, travel agents, people who are interacting with them in different kind of ways. You get this multi-perspective POV from the cruise. So this is a great story to show you why Mommy loves TikTok. So let's take a look at this 9-month cruise explained that'll give us the context that we're all craving. And I have 2 more pieces of media to go with it that just illustrate how, from a cultural perspective, this particular social media platform allows for just a building of this conversation. So let's dive into the 9-month world cruise.
Talk about this 9-month cruise drama. Needed a glass of wine for this one, and you might need the same. Royal Caribbean Cruises have launched a 9-month cruise which sets sail on the 10th of December. This is a mega cruise. You go across 7 continents, 60 countries, across 9 months. And this cruise is expensive. Like, the cheapest ticket is $60,000, going all the way up to $750,000. Passengers have been documenting their time on the trip, and even though it's only been 2 weeks, it's gotten messy. So allegedly, before this cruise set sail, people were only allowed to buy a ticket for the entire 9 months. You couldn't just go for it 2 or 3 months at a time. As the cruise got closer to its departure date, they hadn't sold enough tickets, so they basically slashed the cost by allowing people to buy segments of the journey instead. So people could either book 1 or 2 continents, not the whole thing. But this has resulted in what can only be described as a huge divide, because people who paid full price for the whole 9 months are now like, hey, I actually didn't want to go for the whole 9 months. I just want to see a couple continents. And allegedly, people that paid for the whole 9 months are being treated better than the people that are only staying for like 1 or 2 months. Like, allegedly, the 9-month people have been invited to town hall meetings to discuss the boat, whereas other people that are only staying for 1 or 2 months haven't. Apparently, there's Facebook group chats, WhatsApp chats just for the people that are staying for the whole 9 months. Some of the shipmates have already started a reality-style series to document the ship's journey. Apparently, 2 weeks in, people have already left. And I feel like this is just a recipe for disaster because look how small those rooms are. Can you imagine being in this one room for 9 months with unlimited food and alcohol? Here are some of the names of the girls that are actually on the ship right now. Yeah, guys, strap yourself in for 9 months of tea. Guys, we have to talk about this 9-month.
Unlimited alcohol. Unlimited alcohol. So these two pieces of media, Ross, to add to that story, here we have passengers on board who are creating their own content. Humans are going to human. We're getting bored. They've got their own reality TV show now.
Yeah, they do.
And she's not on the cruise. She's just reporting on it, right?
She's just reporting on it.
Yeah.
Oops. And then someone on the cruise who is reporting on it. So personalities are emerging. Just like an endless barrage of human creativity.
Yeah, I also think this is part of a much bigger trend that I've been seeing happen online, is this kind of global surfing concept that I think I think it's the Gen Zs and the baby boomers have been, the millennials, I think, have been doing, is this concept of just kind of like work and travel around the world. So you basically just stay in hotels and just never buy a house, don't buy an apartment.
It's cheaper to buy like a year-long cruise than to pay the mortgage for a year in some cases.
Right, and I think as people work more remote, that there's an interest in doing this kind of thing. And I think the small rooms thing isn't really much of an issue because people probably aren't spending that much time in those rooms on that ship anyway. They're probably out on the deck, or they're out socializing. So I don't think it's really a whole lot different than a hotel room, right, where people go to a vacation or something like that, and they can work on their laptops elsewhere on the boat, that kind of thing. So I think we're going to see, but you're right. It's very expensive to do this.
But also just a microcosm of like what happens when too many people are together with unlimited alcohol for 9 months. I mean, if you look at the screen, right? Oops, my God, share this tab instead.
Oh, okay. You want to show it again?
I'm sorry. Well, this is the man on the street guy. I'm sorry. That's a StreamYard foible. I didn't share the right tab. Yeah,
that's okay.
Here we go.
So, go ahead.
Breaking news by CT Direct. Guess what? Daddy Joe just told us that someone just left the cruise after 11 days. Check it out.
Hi, kids. Welcome to Barbados. For those of you playing Ultimate World Bingo at home, guess what? We had a passenger who's leaving the cruise today after 11 days. He injured his back and he has to go home. Sad to say that, but we're still happy we're here.
We're happy
and we're
you're
going to take
here.
you on.
Now, as you can see, Kara created a bingo card for us, and 2 already got X'd out. It's only been 11 days, baby. Where is this 9 months going to take us? If you're interested, follow me for all Royal Caribbean Ultimate World Cruise updates. Over and out.
So, Rob, we're seeing the laptop life make more nomadic moments. I don't know how many of them are being documented with their own bingo cards and questions like what happens if you get pregnant on that cruise? Because 9 months is 9 months. And all the shenanigans that ensue. So I love this story because I just think it's kind of my voyeuristic, but also where on earth do we have this many perspectives of one floating boat on the ocean?
Well, I guess a couple of things come to mind. One is, I mean, are humans unbelievable? Even on a cruise, they divide themselves up into an in-group and an out-group.
Exactly right.
You're either in the club of the 9 months, or you're a 2-monther or 1-monther or whatever, and you don't get to go to the inner sanctum of meetings.
Exactly right. I mean, even this little.
Fighting over what I don't know.
Who's going to get voted off the island? Who's going to have to walk the plank?
But the other thing is, and people have talked about this in, on different shows and the predictions and all that, and that's the short form episodic content. In other words, we used to think of short form as like, you post a clip from a show, somebody watches it, and there's no tie. But these people are doing very short form content, but it's content you're going to come back every day. Like, give me my update. What happened today on the boat? Even if it's 30 seconds, it's like, he got X'd out. She left the trip. Somebody had a bad back and they had to go, and
It's like a reality show.
Yeah.
Totally.
Another big trending story on the cruise is that there is a black passenger, and people keep asking her if she works there. And then when she says no, she's a passenger, they ask her if she's independently wealthy. So there's a lot of like cultural stuff happening along those lines as well. But I love that it's opening up dialogue, and I do think it's super interesting to be able to have like this kind of a Minority Report perspective on one human experience.
You want to hit another video?
Yes, I had. Well, what I had done earlier that I'm so sorry I didn't share.
That's right.
Was them creating their own reality show.
God. Are these 9-monthers?
I don't know, because they're not wearing their badge. I don't know. That was the one I accidentally did not share the part tab. So forgive me, StreamYard. Forgive me.
Yes. So if you do some math on this, so let's say a young person chooses not to get an apartment for, let's say, 9 months or a year or something like that. How much money would they have typically spent on an apartment? It probably could be as much as $3,000, $4,000 a month, right, for an apartment in an urban city. So that could be well over $30,000 right there that they would be saving, that they wouldn't have to spend on paying for an apartment somewhere.
Don't forget unlimited food and alcohol.
Food is all inclusive, and so you're talking about all the other things that you would need to spend money on, from utilities to food to
transportation,
upkeep if you own your place, or if you rent, you have to pay certain fees, or so you're looking at like probably what you're basically saying, Rob, is it probably doesn't come that far off to renting a half decent place in a typical expensive U.S. city.
Yeah, right, exactly, and it may be actually not that much difference in price. So if you have to choose between traveling the world and living the high life and creating content on TikTok or something like that, there's a wash there potentially, and maybe there's some income potential there because of the revenue you could create from being a content creator on the high seas.
My God, I just came up with $1 million idea. Hear me out. It's a StreamLeader Report World Cruise. Okay. Everyone is an entrepreneur. There's a recording studio. There's a conference room. There are smart TVs. Maybe we port and Gary V comes on and pumps us up with a pep talk. And the entire thing is staffed by Rob Greenlee's AI robot temporary agency, and Tesla drives the boat, pilots the boat.
Yep.
Okay.
It's an autopilot boat, right?
That's right. An AI-powered cruise, staff and navigation, and it's run by your temp agency, and it's for content creators and entrepreneurs, and we all have our own little individual cabins, and then a big business center opportunities with excellent Wi-Fi. I'm going to be streaming from the 17th.
We're living in the future, Rebecca. I think
everybody's got to find a brand to sponsor them. We don't take any money from the creator. If they can't get a sponsor, they're not enough of a creator.
Oh my God. Look, then we can have, how like when you watch a sports ball game, Ross, that's in your wheelhouse, and all the logos are along with it. Let's all of our logos along the boat, man. This is a multi-million-dollar idea, and you heard it here first. The StreamLeader World Cruise for entrepreneurs and content creators. Oh my God.
I really like the concept.
Just get sponsored, right? Just get sponsored to go on the
It's
cruise.
a floating, long-form conference.
Wait a minute. Listen, if there was one brand that every single creator, every time they went live, every time they uploaded a piece of content, every time they talked about it, every blog post they wrote, every tweet had to mention the brand, like, this is the XYZ cruise, the StreamLeader Report cruise brought to you by XYZ company or whatever. I mean, that company could pick up a lot of, that company would get a tremendous amount of name recognition. If somebody's trying to grow and they've got some money to spend, they could become really well known. Because if you get all these creators on here, between TikTok and YouTube and all these places, even like a Twitch, somebody's going to go viral. Somebody's going to take off. It's
If
inevitable.
you're on other people's shows as well as your own show, because you're all together in one group, then
Right, like everybody's got to
be a
do media
synergizing
every
effect.
day. There's
Exactly. It's postmodern art school meets a floating conference.
You got to do a social post. You got to do a live stream. You got to upload to YouTube, and you got to go. You got to be a guest on somebody's show.
They better have some fast online access on that cruise boat.
That's what I'm saying. The Wi-Fi is going to be off the chain, baby. Off the chain.
It's another sponsorship. The Wi-Fi brought to you by
Exactly. The river
Starlink, probably. Right.
Baby, here you go. You're back over in Elon Musk camp. It's all coming together, friends.
It's definitely going to all come together. There's no question about that.
Every Saturday night, you can see the matinee show, international entertainer and superstar Claudia Santiago in the lounge.
That's right. I mean, that could be her live stream. We live stream her show. I mean, she could be recording an album on there. She could bring the whole band with her.
Of course, because there's a recording studio. Oh my God. It's like Prince and the new power generation for Gen Z.
I also heard
that kicks off January 2025. right after the 10th annual live stream universe prediction.
That's exactly right. I predict I'm getting on this boat.
I also heard that YouTube is going to be launching automatic translation into shows. So if you do a show in English like we are here, this show will be able to be heard in local languages around the world. So they're going to build in AI technology that will automatically translate our vocal spoken word to Spanish and Italian and all that stuff.
And the audio
That's
of
amazing.
it, not just captions.
Well, yeah, and they'll actually adapt to the movement of your mouth and
so it'll
like
look
that.
like I'm speaking Spanish, and it'll look like I'm speaking Portuguese, and it'll look like I'm speaking Russian, all at the same time.
I guess that's coming here this summer, and is what I heard. And then
we're going worldwide.
That's wild.
Well,
like the
kind
UN has those earfight pieces, Rob. Is that what you mean?
Well, there's
This'll
good
be
sides and
better.
bad sides to this, because what people are speculating is that means that all of the shows that are being produced outside of the United States or outside of English will be translatable into English too. So we'll have a lot more content from around the world.
Yeah, nah, it's not none.
Consumed in English.
Bring it on, world.
So
I'm willing to play with that.
So it goes both ways, right? So the pool of content creators that you're competing against becomes a global market instead of just a language market. Right.
Yeah, Rob's like, see me in my cabin.
Yeah.
My office hours are...
I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
More exposure, more people. That's okay. I'll take the extra reach.
I think that's awesome, man. You heard it here first. Fun story.
That is cool. Yeah. So, Rob, you want to talk a little bit about AI and newscasts and what could be coming down the pike with that?
Yes, here recently there was an announcement that there's a new channel that's being launched. It's called channel1.ai. So if you wanted to go check it, I don't know, Ross, if you grabbed the link to the video that was played with this content, but it's a good example of what's being proposed here is a nightly, newscast, kind of like formatted like a mainstream media outlet that would be entirely produced by AI. Even the hosts and the people that would be presenting the concepts or the news stories would be actually AI generated actors. And these actors were produced or created based on real people that they did a life scan of, right? So they scanned these real hosts and created basically AI avatars. And so that's what you're seeing here is this woman on the screen is actually an AI avatar of a real person, right? So
should we take a
they're
listen?
Yeah, go ahead and play it.
Hello, and welcome to Channel 1, a new way of consuming, reporting, and thinking about the news powered by artificial intelligence. Today, you'll witness AI-generated stories and headlines, captivating visuals and data-driven insights. From global news to finance to entertainment, we'll show you how technology enables us to bring you a global perspective 24/7, right from the heart of our AI-native newsroom. All presented by our team of AI-generated reporters.
Maybe you hear the words artificial intelligence and you're immediately skeptical or concerned about technology gone crazy. But everything you'll see on Channel 1 relies on trusted sources and fact-checking and uses AI to give you news the way you want it, personalized, localized, and distilled.
Trusted is the key
Our
word
mission
here.
is to provide you with accurate, unbiased,
The trust factor.
Technology may be the tool, but journalism's core values of integrity and accountability are at the heart of everything we do.
Today we're going to show off some of the technology we're using to build Channel 1. We'll show you how AI powers and empowers our newsroom to deliver journalism that's fast, trustworthy, and accurate. Let's start with our reporters. You can hear us and see our lips moving, but no one was recorded saying what we're all saying. I'm powered by sophisticated systems behind the scenes, and I can speak in any language. Για παράδειγμα, αυτή τη στιγμή μιλάω στα ελληνικά. O kung pinapanood mo ako mula sa Maynila, marunong akong magsalita ng Filipino. எனக்கும் தமிழ் பேசத் தெரியும் என்று நீங்கள் யூகித்திருக்க மாட்டீர்கள் என்று நான் நம்புகிறேன். In fact, you can see even more language samples on our website. Channel 1's anchors can even be completely generated to have their own personality, appearance, and voice.
And what is AI native news? First, here's what it's not. It's not fake news. There isn't a computer somewhere writing its own news stories about things that haven't happened. Our system relies only on trusted news sources
We hope.
to bring together the best journalism on
Are there any left?
from around the world into a single news program. We'll also be using artificial intelligence technology in a number of other ways. For example, thanks to our translation capabilities, we can feature on-the-ground, real-life reporters from around the world to get you closer to a particular story.
In other cases, it's even possible to create footage of events where cameras were not able to capture the action. It's the same way that a courtroom sketch is not a literal depiction of actual events, but can still provide important information or nuance to a news report. And wherever AI has been used to add context or in any way alter existing sources or depictions of actual events, on-screen graphics will clearly indicate the nature of the alteration. Human editors and producers are also involved in checking the stories for accuracy and clarity at every step of the process.
But maybe the best way to explain what Channel 1 is just to show you. Right now, we're going to jump into a program featuring a selection of stories, all produced with the help of AI. So, please enjoy the world's first look at Channel 1.
This is Channel 1.
Military operations against Hamas by Israeli Defense Forces continue in Gaza, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejecting the idea of a ceasefire in Gaza unless hostages are released. This week, the White House said Israel has agreed to 4-hour daily pauses of operations in order to allow people to flee along humanitarian corridors. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky urged his nation's people to stay focused and strong in the face of the protracted war with Russia. He did so while thanking allies for their ongoing support and campaigning for Ukraine's accession to the European Union. Zelensky's comments come as the U.S. Congress disagrees over passing a new aid package, and Ukraine is struggling to make military and diplomatic gains, with fears that allies are growing weary of the war. The United States Department of Labor released its jobs report this week. The numbers were mixed, with 217,000 initial jobless claims, which was 1,000 fewer than expected. Meanwhile, continuing jobless claims jumped to the highest level since April at just over 1.8 million. Nominations for the 2024 Grammy Awards are out, with Taylor Swift, Luke Combs, and SZA among the artists picking up major nods. The nominees were announced via live stream, featuring a group of previous Grammy winners, including
Soon
Kim
these
Petras,
musicians
John
will
Bon
actually
Jovi,
also
and
be
Al
AI.
Yankovic.
pop
in
out
last
of it
night's
and
Thursday
Yeah,
night
talk
football
about it a little
matchup,
bit?
The Carolina Panthers took on the Bears in Chicago,
Soon
where number
these
one draft pick Bryce Young
musicians
struggled as
and
the Panthers' offense
athletes will
couldn't
also
score a
be
single
AI.
touchdown.
Yes.
All right. So what strikes me, one thing strikes me right off the top is that they sound more like they're delivering a Silicon Valley keynote than they sound like they're doing a newscast. Like when they took us around the room, I mean, that could have been Steve Jobs or it could have been a Microsoft or one of those companies doing their annual, let's look at the new toys and here's how we do it and we're going to save the world with this and you're going to be more connected with that. And I don't know, that was the flavor of it to me. But, you know, for AI, I mean, heck, it wasn't terrible. I mean, I thought it was pretty basic, the news reporting, but I mean, all it's doing is giving you the headlines, and I mean, does the news do that much more than that anyway?
Yeah, I think it raises some much bigger questions around, you know, if this is kind of like the next generation of what we see in news, you know, I think the challenge is it any more trustworthy than the waning trust that we have in the current mainstream media that actually has human hosts, right? I mean, it doesn't really solve the bigger problem of building trust, I think is what the real problem of this is. And because, you know, do we know that the information that's in here is actually factually true, or is it just a continuation of
That's my question.
of
Are
the
we
narratives that the people in power or those trusted sources want us to know about versus what the real news that's going on around the world is? And I think this may be a bellwether for just the overall collapse of media in the area of delivering news. I just don't have a lot of faith that there's going to be really, in the long run, any long-term trust in any news source.
Well, they've sort of done it to themselves, and like when they say, "Well, we rely on trusted news," if the trusted news sources were performing as they should, why do we need this? And then why is it important that the trusted news sources are verifying? Like, if the major news sources that we thought were sort of trusted for many years aren't doing their job, then but basically, it comes down to Kathleen's question, which is a great question. Interesting, do they have the capabilities to be biased in their news? Is it monitored? Well, there's bias as the people who are feeding them and programming AI, I think. But even if it's monitored, it's being monitored by humans, and every human has biases and reads into events from whatever vantage point they want to.
One thing that they didn't really play up was the fact that they're doing journalism, right?
That's my question.
That's the main question about all this stuff. Even the existing mainstream media is it really this whole thing of AI generated anchors or spokespersons or people reading the lines per se is really kind of just a gimmick, right? Really what's important is the news that's being covered. Is it verified? Is it authentic? Is it trustworthy? And the question is, if it's getting it from trusted sources, those trusted sources could be getting the information verbatim from the government or from corporations that want to have a certain narrative communicated, and that there isn't any AI-derived journalism that's actually happening. Journalism questions information that they get from government and corporations and does investigations into finding out really the truth, not just parroting what they're being told in a press release or in a press conference. And I think that's really where the rubber hits the road here. The whole AI gimmick here isn't really, I don't think that's significant. But I do think that I don't know that there is a pathway to build that trust again. I think it's lost. I don't know what you guys both think.
Well, my question is, like, are we just saying, hey, ChatGPT, watch take this transcript from ABC, NBC, Nightly News, CNN, Fox News, and then create the USA Today of video stories? Is that what's happening?
I think to some degree they did say toward the end of the video that they're looking for individual journalist contributors to contribute to their network of sources from around the world. And since they have this ability to translate like English or German into English and then back and forth dynamically, that it doesn't matter where they get the information from. So it does appear that they're interested in trying to get local sources, which would be more like citizen journalism, which would be more equivalent to independent journalists, right?
Or the
Ones that
TikTok
are
community.
not affiliated with a corporation or a government entity that will drive a certain particular narrative. That is the danger zone here, is if the sources are like AP or The Wire or any of those sources, those are mouthpieces for the government. And so you can't really trust those sources. So what sources can you trust? Can they build around? And I think the only option is citizen journalists, but I suppose there's even a risk that those folks can be compromised too.
They often are. I mean, they often are motivated by telling their story from their perspective or their agenda. And sometimes it's an AstroTurf thing too, where some company's paying them to go out and, dig up dirt on another, pose as an independent journalist and dig up dirt on my competitor. But I think what they're doing, if they're reading the AP Wire or they're opening up the New York Times and culling information and so forth, basically what the stories are to cover, I'm not sure what they're doing is that much different than newsrooms all around the country in radio and television.
Right. It's the same format, essentially.
The real big local stations, you're talking New York, Chicago, LA, have some people that they can send to, hot spots around the world. But I don't think anybody's got the kind of newsrooms that like the three big networks did, including the three big networks, where they used to be they had bureaus all over the world and, in cities throughout the U.S., and there was always somebody to go to. And I think there's a lot less, like you said, there's a lot less journalism being done because there's a lot fewer resources devoted to what's going on out in the world. And it's just pulling off a wire service or a much larger publication that has a wire service, and then taking their articles and reprinting it or using it to write their TV or radio script.
It's a cost-saving move too. I mean, I think that they're not having to pay huge salaries to these hosts, right? That has typically been the case at like CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever, where these people get paid $400,000 or $500,000 a year to be on the air. If you have an AI generated character like this, your costs are just the processing time to create them.
And many of the top people get paid tens of millions of dollars to do this. So they're living a life that's completely disconnected from the average American. And I think another reason why there's a lot less journalism is that journalism went from being a job to being almost an elite career. Well, it may not at the lower and middle levels pay what law or medicine or, corporate executives or whatever make. It's a career that's largely picking from the elite universities, from like Ivy League and the top journalism schools. It's generally picking young people to get involved who have been trained by the power structure. They've gone to the elite. They've played ball with the elite. They know that if they serve that elite in these positions, then there'll be more positions and more honors and more money for them and career prestige. Whereas, 50, 60 years ago, the reporter was friends with the cop and the bakery owner and stuff. Like he was a working class guy who just went in and didn't mind ruffling some feathers in the government or whatever. Now it's somebody who wants to get along with these folks because there's no dividing line. You can go from being an anchor at CNN to being a press secretary, and when you're done, now you've got a job at MSNBC, and if that doesn't work out, Fox News has a streaming service, and they're looking for a show host. And then there's independent networks that you could like. there's almost no incentive to not play ball with the people in power now, because you're coming from that world, you want to stay in that world, and the people you know are the people who are in that world and can open those doors for you. And I think that's what's one of the big things that nobody talks about why journalism's changed or disappeared.
Yeah, it's also a profit center now for these media companies. They're sponsored by Pfizer, or they're sponsored by these big corporations, where in the earlier days when journalism really existed, the newscast was never sponsored. It never had corporate support. It was always a lost leader to the corporation.
It was a public service that they were doing.
Right.
And
right, exactly. But once it became a for-profit area and big money was needed to fund it, to fund these hosts, and
that happened in the 80s, I think, a lot,
right?
Then, with GE taking over NBC and the corporate, hey, this is a profit center like any other business. We're going to finish at the top. We're going to look at costs and expenditures and all that, and
cut the costs, because that'll make it more profitable. If it's a profit center media, that means that cutting costs and is to cut actual journalism, because journalism takes time, it takes investigation, it takes travel, it takes all these news based on its urgency, right? It's the first to break the story now, or first to get the news out that gets all the attention. So being first is counter to doing deep verified journalism.
Rebecca, as you know, the TikTok world, the online world, Twitter very much have all kind of amplified the worst aspects of journalism for profit.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's only one solution as far as I can see it. If you're craving context and perspective, you should definitely tune in every Thursday to the StreamLeader Report on Thursdays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that is where we do deep critical thinking, and we don't just pull our stories and have no context. We are the context kings and queens. So that's the solution. More StreamLeader Report.
The internet changed everything, because then you could measure through clicks what stories were more popular, and you realized, hey, a listicle with a negative headline and 5 reasons you shouldn't does better than the global crisis of XYZ, right? Or 5 things celebrities do that you don't do. But so even news organizations realized they had to have some amount of clickbait, because that's what they're selling to advertisers. Oh, we got X number of clicks today. We got X number of views. People spent this much time. So if they're spending 2 seconds on the war and 20 minutes on who wore what to the ball or whatever, we got to give them you should have seen what so-and-so was wearing and such or whatever. And it's like that, and then you've got what's going on in government and international politics side by side, but you've got to play the stories for the clicks, because that's where the advertising revenue is coming from.
I think another interesting aspect here, Ross, sorry, Rob, to talk over you, is that this is the fallout of in a way, just a little microcosm of the SAG strike that we were talking about over the summer, in which the pushback was, please, I'm not going to sign my life away in perpetuity for a full body scan, so that you can then not pay an actor to do this job. And here we are seeing that with these news anchors. And as I glibly said at the kind of top of the segment, soon those athletes and movie stars and Taylor Swift types are also going to be AI, and we'll just be watching television, I think.
Well, exactly. I mean, the AI LeBron James never gets hurt. He never grows old. He never needs to take a night off. So the TV ratings never go down, because he's 39, 40 years old, and he's got to rest from time to time. So, yeah, I mean, again, the star of the Broadway show never gets sick. The understudy never has to step in at the last minute. Everything's perfect, right? Everybody's script is perfectly memorized.
Those pesky creatives and their human flaws.
Their ideas and whatnot.
What do we need humans for anymore? Right? Is that where this is going?
I do think that's super interesting, Rob. You said something, I don't remember whether it was here on the StreamLeader Report or on the Trust Factor, that I've just absolutely profoundly shook my perspective of the whole thing, which was, I'm paraphrasing, but to the effect of like, replace the way that we talked about the African-American diaspora during slavery times with the language of AI, and look to see where your biases are. That was so powerful, because normally I'd be like, now they have their own TV show. If I said that about a segment of the population, it was so, inflammatory and racist. And I think that we're thinking so small about this segment, and not as just like, it is in a way, a new form of life that we have to learn to coexist with. And that's why we're for the AI Constitution, right, Rob Greenlee?
Right. I mean, I do think that maybe what we are seeing is the creation of a whole new kind of species of humans, I guess, could be. I don't know how this kind of biological and mechanical blends together somehow, but I know that there's a lot of talk about blending technology with human, blood and flesh technology, right? Which is biological technology versus silicon technology, but maybe those worlds are colliding on each other as you look to the future. But it's going to be a bumpy transition. It's going to be a bumpy ride here for a while.
Will these AI news anchors actually deserve to get paid? Or is it AI slavery, which was kind of your point around around your Kelly services for housework, etc. Like, should they get paid? Do they have workers' rights?
Well,
is there
those characters that you saw on the screen were actually scanned humans, so
right?
They're actually copies of real humans. So I would imagine there's a licensing relationship there. I've oftentimes thought about that with my podcasting, is that maybe I can podcast, into my 80s and 90s, and because there's an avatar version of Rob that can continue doing podcasts. It doesn't have to be me on the video, but the question gets back to is, do people trust that as much? And is it just less human? And is that ultimately where we're going with this? Is that being less human is okay too, because maybe as a civilization we're transitioning into a hybrid type of existence.
That reinforces the analogy of like thinking about slavery and 3/5 of a person. Are you less human? It's a profound conversation. And you really changed my perspective. I've never forgotten that like lightning bolt of like, oh my God, we're not just talking about computer chips.
Well, in a large percentage of the planet right now, we are in a massive population decline. And then while at the same time, we're seeing all this talk and development around creating humanoid robots, right? And there's talk now that there could be more robots on this planet than humans. So start thinking about a reduction in human biological existence and an increase, a dramatic increase. Let's say there's 10 billion humanoid robots on the planet, but only 5 or 6 billion humans. Who's more dominant on the Earth?
Oh my God! Everybody get on the StreamLeader World Cruise.
We're gonna have to find it. We're gonna have to find another home in the live stream universe, because this planet's getting taken over by.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it the other day. Because it's being talked about, especially in the Tesla community, around this Optimus robot, this Generation 2 Optimus robot that looks like it's got human touch capability. It's able to walk around. It's got visual intelligence and things like that. Is what I want in my own home. Would I want one of these robots in my own home with me every day, doing things around the house? It's almost like I mean, is it another form of somewhat of slavery? Right?
That's what exactly, Rob.
Right.
When you said that, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. So is that okay that we think of these artificial intelligent robots as being at the beck and call of humans, or are they going to be sentient beings that we will coexist and cohabitate with and work together with, not enslave?
Well, I mean, you have to look at it like we're teaching them everything we know.
Right. And
but
at some point they're going to teach us more than we know. So, right.
Right. But they have computational powers
that
and
we don't have.
Informational access and all that at a speed and at a volume that is impossible for any human, even a genius of geniuses to. So how is it that we don't turn into their underlings or slaves? Because if they can do all the thinking at such a pace, plus we get used to relying on them to answer every question because we just type it into ChatGPT, to where we can't even function. Like, how many people can function without their phone all day? Very few people. They're used to looking up everything and checking and being connected, right? So now imagine this being that's sitting next to you and can do 1,000,000 times what your phone can do, knows everything, doesn't break down, has no human frailties. That's going to be doing the high-level executive work, and you're going to be, putting water in the wheels or whatever to keep them running, right? Like, you're going to be doing whatever you need to do to keep them going, because without them, you're going to be their slave, because without them, how do you eat? How do you survive?
Yeah. Who becomes the real slave? Is it the humans or the robot in the long run, right? And I've heard Elon Musk talk about this whole Neuralink, which is the brain implant, right? That connects to artificial intelligence and connects to the network. And he's always said that this is a way long term that humans will be able to better compete with AI general intelligence, right? These robots that have computing power, this little implant will give our biological brain a little boost in capabilities to be able to keep up.
Well, I do contend we have 3 unique advantages in terms of competition, and that is perspective, context, and the ability to completely rip everything up and reinvent ourselves. So,
well, we kind of did that with robots, didn't we? Here,
yeah, that's true.
And
that was the reinvention.
We could still pull out the plug on them, right?
Not of corporate. No, not of corporate. That's something to say.
Yeah.
I think the ship has sailed on that one. That one, Ross.
Still pull the plug.
But if artists and writers can't use Google Docs because then that'll get taken by, AI and then published on whatever. Wow, I just really that was a crazy train of thought. If that's true, I still say we could rip it all up and start again. Well, now we write on stone tablets again, or now we communicate through popcorn, or I just think we have an infinite adaptability that can't be matched by computation skills, or at least that's what I'm telling myself to sleep at night.
Yeah, and I've heard people start to talk about too, and I've thought about it too, of to guarantee my place in the world, do I need to basically buy like 2 or 3 of these robots, right, and put them to work? And that's how I'm going to be able to generate an income for myself, or my car, which is the Tesla, will go in and out of my garage automatically, picking up people and taking them places, and then I make money on that transaction. Is that somehow this robotics will be a basis for human, income and economy? Now you're going to have to invest in this technology in order to be able to get that. And there's a lot of people that aren't going to have the financial resources to be able to go out and buy, 3 robots and an autonomous car and all this kind of stuff that can go out and create a business around that to service other people.
I don't know how much the corporate overlords are going to let us have access to our own means of generating income when just about every human need has been monetized.
Well, doesn't the World Economic Forum basically say you'll have nothing and like it? You'll be happier that you'll own nothing, but you'll be happier that way.
Happy. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll basically lease or rent everything, or you'll take
You'll always be at the whim of your betters.
yeah.
That's what they're trying to say, right?
Yeah, I think like an Uber kind of thing where you don't actually own a car. These cars just drive around and pick you up and take you places, and there's no reason to own a car. Now, if you're a business owner, maybe owning a car is supporting that lifestyle, and that's a business for you.
Mhm.
Offering that ability is to have, rideshare capability like an Uber type of a thing. So, but I'm a little dubious of that will ever really pan out to be anything of a significant revenue generator. And I do wonder about the robot thing too, is, maybe I start a landscaping service or something like that is entirely managed and run by AI robots that goes out and mows lawns and cleans up people's yards and stuff like that. And I bill those people for that service, but that service is actually done by a team of robots
that you train in just the right way.
Exactly.
Or they're so brilliant that they quickly access the knowledge of how do I...
Well, I think Rob's suggesting that there are like service software packages you can get to like...
Exactly. It's going to be like an app store. It's going to be like an app store.
Kind of like in the Matrix where Neo learns jiu-jitsu just by
it's already being talked about and planned that there's going to be an app store of skills for these robots. So you'll be able to pay a subscription for a skill to be able to fly an airplane, or a skill to cook, Italian dishes or something like that, or clean up the kitchen or do laundry or something. I mean, you'll be able to buy these as a subscription service.
So basically, depending on the price point, people could literally have some machine, human-like machine, that does everything that a human's ever done in history.
Yeah.
Paint like,
paint a house. It could be a skill of painting a house.
Build a house like
right.
Frank Lloyd Wright. Yeah.
So that's how people are thinking about these things. And at the end of the day, they're human replacements, right? I mean, if there's 10 billion of these robots, humanoid robots on the planet, like I said, and there's only 6-7 billion humans, that means that there's more than one robot on average for each human. So think about a world like that.
Humans might have to learn to get along. Like we'll all have to be that 9-month group.
I don't, where we fit in the ecosystem of this is really the question that I don't know that anybody has been able to really answer.
I would suggest that we are the consumers that have to buy the things that the robots are making.
Yeah, but not everybody's going to be able to do that. So
I know.
If people are not able to have the financial resources to invest in this, where do they exist in this ecosystem, this new ecosystem that is probably not going to have any jobs? It's not going to have any, because it's all being done by robots now.
So with no jobs, people who don't have the means have no way to go out and get the means to do this. Which is a very depressing thought on how things would go or what the intentions are.
Yeah, I suppose you could go out and take out a loan or something like that if anybody would give you a loan, and then you create a business around that will pay back the loan. But it's,
everybody gets a robot.
Oh my God.
You get a robot and you get a robot.
If I don't make the payments.
It's another form of welfare. You get a robot.
And if I don't make the payments, a robot comes and breaks my robot's fingers.
Right. Yeah.
Be on time next week.
You sleep with the fishes. Beep, beep.
The robot repossesses itself.
Oh my God. Like Cleavon Little and Blazing Saddles. Do what he say. Do what he say.
Right.
Isn't anybody going to help that poor man?
Vacuum your own damn carpet. You didn't pay for me. I'm leaving.
Because they don't eat, they don't use the bathroom, they don't shower, all you have to do is recharge them. So, right. Just like a Tesla car. I mean, all I have to do in the Tesla car is rotate my tires, put windshield wiper fluid in the tank, and that's, and I'm good to go.
And it knows to let you know when that's running down, right? It's not like you have to go lift the hood and look and
right. That or windshield
put
wipers.
the dipstick in and figure out where.
I mean, you don't have to buy this AI clothes, though I suppose you could buy your robot clothes if you wanted to, I suppose.
So that way other people can't tell whether it's a human or a robot. You can really sneak up on them.
You gotta look beneath the skirt.
Hey, play this one in pool. He's never played before.
Right. Oh my
God. Boom, boom. Calculate. Boom.
My question is, can they ski? Can they, swim in the ocean or the pool? Will they short out, or that kind of
depends
stuff?
what they're built from, I guess, and insulated with. And
yeah, if you could get on a robot's back and actually swim the English Channel.
I'm sick of this cruise.
Yeah.
Take me home. Okay.
And I'm sure that they're going to be the first entities or beings, if you want to call them that will probably build the first moon station. I would imagine Elon's going to use these as the first astronauts to go to Mars, probably, I would imagine. Yeah.
Well,
so they'll build it for us and make it human habitable. They can change the atmosphere and so forth.
Well, they would go there and actually build it, construct it before the humans actually go. Right.
And then they construct some sort of pipeline where we never have to be outside in the atmosphere.
Oh my God. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And every portal is 4 feet high. They're like, ha, stupid humans. Thought you could come here. Now you have to live.
Well, I think we've laughed more in this show than any show.
I was
all
just
of them
thinking when
combined.
we close out, this is the funnest StreamLeader Report I've ever done. I had a blast today.
We started with TikTok and we got into the robots, and man, there's so much to think about and talk about with this topic, but it's a lot of fun. And boy, there's nothing else to say about it because it's a world we don't really know, and that's what makes it exciting, but it also makes it scary. So we'll have a lot more laughs and imagination.
Oh yeah, we'll keep covering it as the developments come out. But there's multiple companies working on this. It isn't just Tesla. So there's other ones.
How
around
many
the world.
years off do you think we are from actually seeing one of these beings walk into our homes?
Well, what's being speculated right now is that the first place that we're going to see these humanoid robots is in manufacturing facilities, like Amazon warehouses and in like car manufacturing and any kind of a repetitive manufacturing process that's trying to make something at scale, make anything, right? That has typically had humans in that workflow process. They're going to be replaced with robots because
they're going to have to join the union if the contract is
robot union. Right?
Could you
I don't think that's
imagine
gonna
them
happen.
sitting down, one of them sitting down across the table from the CEO? No. Here's the rules and what they're going to be.
I own you. Sorry, I can pull you.
I made you, and I can put you down.
My robots aren't coming to work tomorrow unless the new deal is on the table.
Right. Well, at some point that could happen if they become sentient.
Because
with their
we
own
don't
thoughts.
need to eat. We don't have children to worry about. You better pay and pay us good.
But they could work 24/7. They
Yeah.
could work around the clock every day. All they have to do is be charge the battery up.
Somebody still has to buy the things that they're making.
That's
and
right.
if there isn't an economic driver, and none of us, look, we all know that doesn't mean that none of us will have jobs anymore. But like, if none of us have jobs anymore,
Well,
who's
people
gonna buy it?
Well, you have to buy it for your robot because they're making something that your robot needs in order that your robot can do their work in your home.
It's a whole new economy. is
So
what-
it's like,
what it
you know,
turns into.
robots take human roles everywhere and then they're replacing us, but they're sort of doing the same thing, right? In some ways.
Yeah, I
Just
think
doing
it's
it at
also
a-
going to come to retail too. It's going to come to hospitality, those type of environments, like those people that go in and clean the rooms in your hotel and all that kind of stuff like that, I would think, and then change the sheets and all that stuff. Eventually those will all be done by robots. So that's the kind of replacement situation that we're going to see. And it could be a massive cost savings, but it's also, it also takes humans out of doing drudgery work or dangerous work as well. So there are jobs like, the people that pick up your garbage in the garbage trucks, and that could all be done by these humanoid robots. And they wouldn't have to, but the question is, what are all those?
Will they wave
people
hello though in
going
the
to do?
morning? Will they give me a friendly wave from the side of the truck
Right.
to
Not
say
until,
hello?
not until I have my robot coffee first.
Right. So that's the bigger question, is that the kind of jobs that these robots are going to replace are going to create a vacuum in jobs out there. And the question gets back to is, well, what do those people do? Going forward, what's the meaning of life for a big chunk of the human population? What's the purpose? Is it just to be a robot owner and they're under your management of sorts? So we all become managers of robots? Is that kind
You'd
of
never have to go out and walk the dog, Rebecca.
But maybe you like to do that, and it's actually healthy for you to do that.
Right.
So that's the trade-off here, is that me going out and mowing my lawn is something that's good for my health. Getting out, walking, getting that exercise. But if I just have a robot do every manual thing, then what do I become? Just a slob that just sits around and doesn't do anything?
No, you have to pay $60,000 to go on the World Human Exercise cruise.
That's all I do is just sell my house.
StreamLeader Report Live cruise.
Right. Right.
I'm telling you,
That is a brilliant idea. We got to continue that conversation as well.
Yeah, I know we're about out of time, aren't we?
All right. So this has been a blast for Rebecca Gunter, Business in the Raw. Rob Greenlee, who's got podcast tips with Rob Greenlee coming up tonight, 7 o'clock on the StreamYard channel. I'm Ross Brand, StreamLeader Report. When you see us next Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, in fact, on Thursday, I will have a book out, a new book out. So that's what's coming up for me on Wednesday, the launch. And we'll see you again next week. Take care, everybody.
I can't wait.